my phone is about to die, and I need a charger. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Be right back. Okay, now figure out how to hook it up. Let's see. Why does it keep shutting off? Whoa. Just continuously shuts off. I don't know what's up with that light. Alright. So, it's kind of dark in here, isn't it? What's up, guys? Oh, we have 5 people here. All right. What's up, Bridge Burner? Joseph, Billy. Let's see. Ground Pounder and Peter Shea. What's going on, guys? Billy's here. We got Kellen's here. It looks like there's more people than it says on there. Let me see. 3 times 4 legs up on the side of the road. What's up, guys? Alright, so I wanted to discuss speedlining. Now, I'm working on the second part of that video, and it'll be up soon, but I do want to explain the differences between and like why you would use speedlining, and they're, in my opinion, which is only my opinion, I'm just a simple hick that does tree work. I've done it my whole life, and I feel like I'm pretty good at it. If God put me here for anything, I imagine it's probably to do tree work. So I'm going to explain the 3 that I consider, well, the 4 that I consider to be really helpful when it comes to speedlining in general. So one of them is an advanced technique that actually, it's no longer speedlining, which is a controlled speedline. So speedlining, in my opinion, is a guided free fall. So a limb is just riding a line and being guided in a free fall fashion to a direction or to a designated spot, right? I mean, are you do you agree? Just another day in paradise. How's it going? It's supposed to rain. Yeah, it's raining its ass off here, and it's really nasty. But yeah, so it's kind of hard to even want to do the live. I was kind of bummed out, but yeah. So yeah, that's my opinion of speedlining. If anybody disagrees or like thinks any different, I mean, let me know, because that's just what I've always considered it and seen it. It is not rigging, because real rigging, it's fully controlled and it's not in a free fall fashion. It is controlled, how slow, how fast it goes down, all them things. So I'm working the next 2 days after around 10 days off. Right on. Not for the 10 days off, but working is awesome. I mean, no one ever tells you when you get in this kind of work that it stops and you better hustle and you better go, because this can be like one of the hardest things to make a living in the world, especially when you hit this time of year. So I think that's one thing that a lot of guys disregard. It's always the glory of climbing and how cool it is, but then the struggle during the winter months and fall is something that doesn't get talked about. So Joseph says, in a nutshell, yeah, okay. Getting cold here, but it's got really warm outside. Just as I ran out, it had been raining. It's colder in here than it is outside, and I don't know why. I heard something outside. That's probably the flag whipping. Sound like a cat or something. Truck was getting repaired, so okay, bridge burner on tree. Okay, so now I'll let you guys do your talking, and we will discuss the 4 ways of speedlining. Now, I am not an artist. Dang, everything's just shutting off. But I did draw a couple diagrams for these, and I want to kind of explain them. And then what I'll do is I'll just put this at the beginning of the live video here. We'll do this explanation, discuss these, and then we'll just do our normal talk after that. So let me put you guys... Oh, shoot. I didn't even plug you into the charger. Hang on just a second. Let me plug you guys in. Bridge burner, you and me both, brother. I hate the cold, too. I am not a fan. It is no good for me. I don't know how I'm going to do this. Let me see. Hang on just a second, guys. I got to switch some things around to make some... We may light things up a little better, too. Let's see. So, that's... Well, that doesn't even work anymore. What the hell? This is ridiculous. Yeah, it just goes like dead. Whoa. Oh, okay. Nope, that wasn't it. What is... Ah! Come on! Oh, I'm over it. Okay, so that light is not going to work. I am so sorry. This probably looks so stupid and chaotic. Jeffrey Green, what's going on, buddy? I also can make sure I don't get any buttons. Yeah, I do. Alright. So I'll put you on this little tripod. That's pretty clear. And it's lit up okay. Okay. So, what's up, Jeffrey? We're going to talk about the 4 types of speed lining. And why, like, what makes them different and why you would use them, really. So, here we go. Like I said, I'm not an artist, so bear with me here. I got these little diagrams that are horrible, but I'll explain. Let's see. So, let's just start first with traditional speed lining, okay? The reason for it and the reason you would use it, let me see if I can get a light around here too. We'll even make it even better. Much more better. Okay, so now we can see this. Ah, don't do it. Okay, that's not bad. All right, so here it is. Here's traditional speed line. What's that? Night Jay, what's up, buddy? So traditional speed lining. You have an obstacle. Now the little house will be an obstacle, okay? So on all the diagrams, same thing. Tree, you know, surface, the ground, the area you're working, and why you would be speedlining. An obstacle. Now, if you notice, as this piece comes off, which it comes off from right here, as it comes off, it's vertical. You know, it's up and down. So as it goes over, you need a lot of clearance space between whatever object you are trying to miss or obstacle and the height on the rope so that this piece, because of it being up and down, needs a huge amount of space right here. Okay? Now, if you notice, what I'll do is I'll show you what I did, which is very similar, and the piece now needs very little space to clear because it's no longer up and down, it's horizontal down the line. So there is a few things to watch out for when you're doing the horizontal speed lining. You add, instead of having a single point, which would be right here, if this didn't have this front point, it would be down, it would have hit the house. Okay? So the addition of that tip point right here takes the piece from being like from here to here, right in the house. Now it turns it and it travels the line horizontal. So the thing you have to worry about is when it's traveling the line horizontal, the front, if it was just a regular carabiner is designed to make friction on the way down. Well, it's not. That's what it's used, and that's what happens. It creates friction. So if I'd have clipped that on with just normal, like a regular clip, as this thing tried to travel down, this would be creating a lot of friction. This would be creating friction, and it would slow the whole process down big time. So what I did was I added a pulley on this one up here, so that it gave it a mechanical advantage to get the top traveling so that the base could follow. Now I've had this issue where when you try to do multiple points, it creates too much friction and the piece doesn't want to travel the line. So adding the pulley here made it so I can get this to travel much quicker down the line, and as it's going, what would happen when it would mess up when I would use this technique would be this isn't very steep, so it's creating too much friction here and then here, and between the two of them, it was enough friction that it would almost stop. It would stop the limb, and it wouldn't travel. So now we picture this limb being here. Okay, that's what the dotted lines are. This is how the rope was originally ran. It was anchored here, like normal. Okay, so it's anchored off. Then it ran upward to the first strap, and then all the way up to the top strap, and then that. You see how there's a quite a difference right here in this area here. So this bit here, the ground guy has to be ready for this amount of droop that's going to drop into this line. So he needs to pull it out as it's going over. So as he's pulling, because of it being set up like this up the line, it pulls on the top point, this point right here. As it was sitting here, it pulled on that point and it pulls it over. So then it drops down the line, travels, and goes down. So the thing to worry about when you're using that technique is this amount of slack that falls into the line. So you have to remember that it's going to be much higher and steeper until it drops that little bit of height out, and then it drops into the system. The ground guy needs to pull that slack out as it's coming so that it tightens the line back up and makes this drop not so much, because this amount of drop would drop down in here if he doesn't get it out. But if he gets it out, he can keep it at this point. So that was the main thing I wanted everybody to like realize, is if you use this technique, it does bring a bunch of play into the system. So the ground guy has to be ready to pull that play out at the anchor point over here. But yeah, that's it. If you notice, the two setups are very similar. You know, the only difference is the way the limb is traveling. And the other thing is, with this system, it's actually a pull line too. It becomes a tag line to pull the branch over, and it gives it a travel line to go down, which is here. So this setup, multiple uses, gives you the directional pull you want, plus it gives you the, if you're limited on height, the additional connection points will keep the limb from being vertical, and you're able to pass it over a much shorter space. So that's a big thing to think about when you're doing speed lining, depending on how much height space that you have, clearance. You may want to use multiple tie-in points. But remember, when using two anchor points on this, the first one's going to create a ton of friction because it's dropping the weight in. So adding a pulley will give a mechanical advantage and will keep that from happening. So that's a big thing that I've noticed when I do speed lining is if I don't put, when I do 2 points, if I don't put a pulley there, it really messes me up. So about like a zip line. Yeah, Billy. Yep. Controlled speed line is sweet bridge burner. Okay, here. I'm going to show you that. Now, that would be number 3. In my opinion, this is not speed lining. This is rigging with a guideline. So it is called, you're 100% right. I'm not saying that you're not right. You're 100% right. It's called controlled speed lining. This same thing, same setup, you could, if you notice, look how similar those two are. Now, you could, with the addition of one more strap right here, turn this up here and would be able to clear if you didn't have the space. So there's not a whole lot of difference being done when you add this, but you can achieve much better clearance with the additional anchor point on the piece you're sending. So now a controlled speed line, you have the speed line, which is this first red line that's on top. It is anchored in the tree. It goes down to your anchor point wherever you're sending the piece to. Now, you also have a friction device, usually, porter wrap, bollard, whatever. Take wraps on the tree, whatever you want. And then your line goes up. It'll go through a crotch and through, a ring or something here. Now, that piece was, let's say that piece was out here. This bottom line was up above originally. And then when it fell off, it dropped it into the line. And now this rope here is going to control that limb as it goes down that line. So it's no longer a free fall. It's completely controlled 100%. So as far as speed lining goes, technically this isn't actually speed lining because it's no longer a free fall. It is 100% controlled by this line here. But it is called a controlled speed line. That's the setup. So this is very useful, especially if you need to fall the branch into the system, and then maybe you need to you like to fall the branch over and then tighten up your speed line. Like say that branch originally would have swung over, it would have landed next to the house here, okay? Like right here. Then my guy would take, and the speed line would be really drooped out here, and he would tighten it up, and as he tightened it up, that limb would go up till it's to there. Then he could start to release it down the line when we achieve clearance over the house. So now, is this making sense? Like, I'm not just babbling and like making no sense. I mean, I hope this makes sense. Hard to get the right tree and set up for the ideal speed. Yeah, it is. It's tricky. And it's just sometimes it's just unnecessary. When you need a massive amount of travel and you have a bunch, like a big area that you need to miss, that's where speed lining comes in. Because if it's just something small, you can change the point of we're over a little bit and rig over the top of it. Now when you have a large area that you need to miss the entire area, that's where speed lining and having a guideline is just everything. So makes sense. Okay, well, that's a good. Okay, now there's one more. Like I said, there was 4. That was 3. So you have regular speed lining, you have horizontal speed lining, which it may have a name. I don't know the name of it. That's just what I call it. So you have horizontal speed lining, and then you have controlled speed lining. So the last one is a little different. Now you're looking to travel over a large area with these others. The fourth one is looking to keep everything in one precise little area and not allow it to travel, really. And that's a vertical speed line. So here, this is a vertical speed line. Quite a bit different. Oh, hang on. Is that right? Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, let me explain my crappy drawing. Now, this is a hillside. The tree's on top of a very steep hill, okay? House below. You're chunking down wood. You're worried that as the piece hits, it's going to roll down to the house. Now, this is where you go with a vertical speed line. You free fall the piece, but as it comes down, it can stop. It stops right here. Boom. It can't go down the hill. When you're on like a bank or something and you're really worried about it, the vertical speed lining, you have the piece up here, you go and cut it, it can't travel way out here and boom, 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 down to the house because it goes over and it just goes zip, straight down the line, straight down the trunk, boom, down here. So the ground guy a lot of times will keep this line real tight, and right as it's getting to the friction device down here, he'll let a little slack into the system so it passes the friction device and hits right in front of it on the ground. So vertical speed lining is very simple. Doesn't take a whole lot to explain it, but what you're doing is you're putting a strap on the piece and you're putting it, clipping it on, and as it goes to travel off right here, where it would travel and flip, whatever, it no longer does that. It goes to start to go over. This line says, nope, get back. And it keeps it here and keeps everything to stay here, and nothing can go down a hillside. So vertical speed lining is a very, very, very good technique and can be extremely helpful. Let's say you're in a flat yard here, even, but there is some flowers right here and flowers over on the other side. The only spot you got space is right below, right at the bank or at the base of the tree. With this kind of technique, you can boom, 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 boom. You're being super precise. So as you're taking the chunks of wood down, you can lower that anchor point, cut this one off. Lower that anchor point, cut that one off. And just take chunks of wood down as you go with no concern or worry that they can travel down the hillside or take off on you. So I'm pretty sure I probably explained that one all right, but that's about the simplest system that there is, and I should have been able to explain it. That's why you need the 1/2 inch 300-foot rope. Yeah, you need some long ropes on some of these setups. I got 200-foot length of half. It does the job. Oh yeah. And a kit with like 20 slings in it. Right on. Did you buy your kit, Bridge Burner? I just made mine, so with stuff I had little by little. Before I knew it, I had a whole setup. But originally I was buying these little I was buying these straps. I don't think I have one in here, but they were little toe straps, and they were like maybe 2 foot long, and they had a loop on this end, and they had a loop on this end, and they were very strong. And I was getting them from like a hardware store or like Rural King or something. And I used them for a while, and they were just a little too heavy and weren't as easily packed away and stored and stuff. So I still have a bunch of them, but that was what I originally used. And if you're worried, like you're doing the vertical speed lining, using shackles too, smaller shackles could be a good idea and would work. But yeah. And the other thing is if you're doing speed lining and stuff, like any kind of speed lining, now a branch, and the longer the piece like this, the more it's going to spread the weight out and cause friction on this line. So the slower it actually travel it. Now, on the same hand, if you was to drop just a chunk of wood into this line, it's got a ton of weight pulling down on one spot, and it travels the line super fast. So wood will travel a speed line completely different than a branch will. So I always suggest a couple tries, like a couple testers before you really do anything, even any rigging setup. A couple small testers first to see where it's going to end up, how it's going to respond, how it's going to react, how the cut's going to peel, all kinds of stuff. So testing along the way is a big deal to me. Every time to climb a store, I buy 2 to 3 more slings and beaners. Yeah, yeah, I know. I feel you. Even though you don't need them, they're still like. I'm like, wow, were mine neon orange or like neon yellow when I first got them? Because mine are like yellow. Were they high vis? And then so I'll buy some, and it won't be long, and they're just regular yellow, and I'll think the same thing. Man, them high vis ones look real cool. I need to buy one. I get exhausted rolling up at the end of the day. I cut mine. Yeah, Jeffrey, wrapping up rope at the end of the day is tough. Your forearms get good and locked up. Luckily, I have pretty big hands, so like I don't have issues like coiling a rope up. But I see people that have big issues with that. So, seen August doing that before. Doing what? Taking chunks of wood. Cause yeah, that's that's something that it will work completely different. So yeah, and another thing, when it's just coming to like the actual technique, and I say the same thing in a video that I recorded a long time ago. So it's not like I'm just saying this now. This is something that I've always said. But if you want to know something about speedlining or learn the actual technique of speedlining, I said go to August's channel. He's mastered it. He's basically come up with it, and was where I originally seen it done. So everybody, it's like human nature to try to better a technique, and some other things have come from it. But yeah, that's the master of it. So I mean, if you're looking to learn the basics and mechanics of it, and like how to be more efficient at it, and just it in general, I mean, the guy sells a speedline kit. He's pretty good at it. So yeah, I would definitely check his channel out. Billy's right. If you're and I say the same thing, and put it in the video too. So rigging them straight down. Oh really? In one pile? Right on. Yeah, I don't know if maybe I've seen so many of his videos. I wouldn't doubt it that he's probably done it. So, but yeah, this definitely probably not going to go as long of a live as we did last time. I kind of have some stuff I need to take care of, and I need to gonna be up and stuff early. But lots of the time on pines, all it does is help move the pile a few feet away from the base of the tree. It still helps. So, yeah. I agree. You know, it's really weird because like if you're watching a YouTube video, just for those that don't really understand the way that I mean, I don't 100% understand it, but I have a pretty good understanding of it, like the way it works. A wide angle lens, when you're watching these things on video, a wide angle lens is taking things that are wide and making them wider, and taking things that are tall and making them shorter to fit into a wide angle lens. So a lot of times, like when you're looking at the distance, like on my video, how far the rope or the piece traveled, it almost travels a block. It doesn't look like it in the video because it's a height, it's a up down, and with the up down on a wide angle lens, it smashes it to make it fit, and it doesn't look as far. But that's the nature of a wide angle lens. It'll make some, like if you get the camera up close, it'll take a tree that's not as wide but make it look really sprawled out and really wide, when it maybe isn't even that spread out in actual life. When you put it on wide angle lens, it will come out like that. So yeah, I mean, you can get a long bit of travel, or you can have a little bit. I don't find myself really doing any pines and stuff like that. So I think that's where the technique of the horizontal and actually turning it into a tagline comes from. is I'm working completely different kinds of trees that are more sprawled out and have a canopy to them, multiple canopies and tops, as opposed to a single stem tree that is like a pine and has rungs of limbs. That's why I don't myself use the speedline technique a ton, because like on a pine tree it's in rungs. Like there's a ring and it may have 6 limbs. Up again, another ring, it may have 5 limbs. Up again, and that's just the way pine trees are. So speedlining works really efficient and good for that, but you can also use it in these widespread trees and it's pretty effective. So even if it's 10 or 20 feet of distance. Yeah, I mean, a little bit of distance is all you need sometimes. So, sometimes you need a ton. And I would always say if you need 100 foot of distance, I put my speed line 120 foot, because a lot of times you're not going to get the full distance. It's going to want to come down and actually land a little bit before. And judging that height, if you guys notice, there is a dogwood that is like directly in the line as it comes off the tree. Like, let's say this is it. Let's say the house is the guy's truck. So as that's coming off, there is actually a dogwood right here in front. Like right as it's getting ready to get to the road, there's a beautiful little dogwood tree that is like her everything. So we barely squeaked by it, and then on the opposite side there's a mailbox and some other bushes and rose bushes and stuff like that. So um yeah, I didn't spend as much time pointing out and going into detail, but this is my game plan for that. There will be the 2 videos on speedlining and how and why I used it, and then there will be a whole nother video where I will go back and discuss doing a crown reduction. So what a tree looks like after it's been topped correctly. Like in my opinion, this is the way the tree should have been done. A tree shouldn't be bald when you trim it, because it no longer has coverage, and all that can do is like, that's why it'll throw out a bunch of little sprouts, because it's trying to cover itself up because you made it bald. It doesn't want direct sunlight on main spars and stems. It'll actually sun scorch, and like it'll sun scald, and it will burn the bark off the tree, actually kill the tree. So um, you want to leave coverage on the tree. The tree wants coverage. So we're really just looking to bring it back to a limb that is, again, vertical. And in my opinion, when you trim a tree, it shouldn't look like you just, like, I shouldn't be able to tell from a block away. Oh my God, look at that. I could hang so many hats on that. I could hang my coat on that. I could, I don't even know. But it's just got awful. So now that tree has no coverage. It's going to suffer in the sun until it finally tries to throw some water sprouts out to cover up. And sometimes it doesn't cover up quick enough. It'll kill the tree. But in my opinion, if you trim a tree correctly, it should be almost hard to tell that you did anything. That should still be a beautiful tree. And that's the part that I'm puzzled, that I see. Like, it's every jackhole with a chainsaw and a ladder is a tree service now. So at least my area, and they just butcher some stuff, and they just don't care. They're looking to get the dollar and get out of there. They'll never see them people again. So it shouldn't look like that. You'll be able to see, this is, I'm gonna, even though this is such a touchy subject for just tree work in general, is topping trees. I'm gonna top this tree, and I'm gonna show you how I would, when I'm given full range and I get to decide. We took 25 foot out of this tree. Yeah, at least 25 foot. And the tree still looked like a beautiful tree when it was all said and done. You guys, I want to make a whole video on it, and a video on like disagreeing with
when someone the homeowner wants you to do something that you don't want to do, sometimes it's hard to find that compromise. And we found the compromise in this, and she was very stoked and happy with the end product. And she's like, "I'm glad I trusted you," which that is usually the way it always goes. I don't know if I've ever had anybody say anything else. Usually, every time I can think back, knock on wood, that I'm running some a hole. But people are always like, "I'm glad I trusted you. That's beautiful. That looks the way that it's you." I take a tree, and you can make it half the tree that it was by making the correct cuts in the correct places. It's called doing a crown reduction and directional pruning and just picking the right spots so that the tree can quickly heal up with the least amount of wounds as possible. It can quickly heal and continue to grow and put on new growth. So the issue I ran into with this tree was I had cabled this tree. I put the cable at 2/3. The tree has grown at least, maybe I was a little under 2/3, but I wanted to be into stiff enough wood and strong enough wood to actually be able to cable and hold the two stems together because of the major seam and that little bitty trunk, and then it was just two huge tops. So I was probably a little under 2/3. That tree grew so fast and put on so much height. Now when I came back and look at it, I was starting to look, and my cable was almost at the like halfway mark, and it was really tight. And originally I had put a good, like, if you was to move it all the way around, I'd say you get like 3 to 4 inches of play up, like from the highest point to the lowest point, like probably 3 inches, and back and forth. I want the tree to be able to move a little bit, and I also will discuss and show the difference between wrapping a tree up with cable and how it works when you use an eyelet. Drill in and use eyelets. I've had people on some past videos where I've done some cabling videos, they think it's silly what I did. That's just going to rip out. That's this, that's that. I will show you how quick it heals over. And now you have a permanent connection point that there was no sense in me just going back up and putting a cable even higher because the tree was starting to separate. So what we did is we used the same cable spot at the same point and just brought the tree down. So I don't really know where I'm going with that, but I will show you cabling and how that all worked and how good it actually healed up and did its job. And it is by putting eyelet bolts in. The thing is, when you're doing eyelet bolts, in my opinion, you want a very, 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 very small hole drilled than a much bigger lag bolt than the hole is. Like, it needs to be a battle to get that thing in there because you want it to bite. You don't want to put a hole that is, drill a hole that's almost the size of the lag bolt so you can easily screw it in because that's for sure going to rip out. But this thing had healed all the way up and it was healing over the eyelets. And I had used some kind of cheaper clips at the time, and the tree had been fine. It had the play in it, and so what I ended up doing is switching them cheaper clips out for some solid screw clips, links, and switching them out because I felt like they were a weak point, and then adding a little distance to it. But I think I only added one link because after we took the top out, the play was back in it a little bit. So yeah, that's the whole background on that, and I'll talk with you guys for a little bit, and then we'll probably end up calling it a night. But yeah, I see Dan's here. What's up, Dan? Yeah, I would move that truck, huh? What's up? He was just a jerk. They were lazy. I don't really know what his game plan was. If it was hopefully I hit his truck and he gets a new truck, or if he was just a lazy asshole, I don't really know. It made no sense to me. I still don't understand it. Don't know why he would do that. And then, like, to sit there and watch me. He was also kind of a dick when I showed up and I was looking at the cable. He come out of his house, which he was the next door neighbor. The funny part is, like, she lived here, he lives here. Then his dad maybe lives here, or the grandpa. I don't even know. But like they got this lady cornered in this little spot, and they're just taking her parking spots and being rude. And yeah, he just didn't care. You know, he knew she wasn't home, and so he's like, "We tried," and I was like, "You know, that's bull, you know, but we'll push it and this and that." He just didn't care. I don't know if he didn't like me or didn't like that we were doing it, or I really don't know what, but it was like almost like he was purposely trying to make everything more difficult. That's the feeling I got. You can run speed line 50 feet and lower straight down if you have other things to attach rigging to. Some people's kids. Yeah. Drop the top on it and then he'll learn this. That's kind of, that would have been awesome. I wish, dude. I wish. There's a couple times where like I cut a chunk of wood and I would watch it plinko down through and I'm like, hit his truck. I don't even care. But then at the same time, I'm like, please don't hit his truck. But I think that's why we end up with so much footage from this one, is because I made sure I had a camera running on that truck at all times. That way I could say, dude, get out of here with your BS. Don't even start. And we took pictures of it before and after too. So let's see. The bark on the tree and the roots on the tree need to be shaded by foliage. That helps a lot. Yep, that's right, Fred. I agree. It's something that I think a lot of guys they don't realize. And then covering up roots and too and the flares and stuff. A lot of that is you need to cover them up so the lawnmower's not beating the hell out of them, you know, because that root coincides with some part of the tree. If you hit this, you may lose a limb up there. So it's not only does it help it as far as that goes, it adds probably structure and stability by keeping them covered. It also keeps them protected from being smashed up by a mower and stuff. So ready to go top some trees. I'm a tree topper, you know, but you guys can tell me. I'm not gonna toot my own horn. You tell me if it was topped correctly when it's all said and done. I don't believe there should be any stubs. You know, I have a few people that have Bradford pears, and they have me do that to them and butcher them. But they are so they've been trimmed so many times that we are now pollarding, which they have like a deformity at the end of the stems. It's like a tumor looking bump, and everything grows off of it. So there's so many times of cutting, and what we would do is we would take this stem, it would have 50 little things coming off of branches coming off it. And when we cut it off there, it's now bald. It has, those 50 spots where it's going to try to grow back, and it throws out a couple new ones, and before you know it, they're all grown together and they become a knot. So I have a few of them, and they're always Bradford pears. So that's just a kind of a nuisance tree. They're weak, they crack, they split, and so that's one it's a weed, you know. It's one you could butcher and it'll come back, and it grows so fast that it can cover in a decent amount of time to keep it from dying. So that's where other trees don't grow that fast. They can't cover up. That's where you get sun scald and it kills it. What's up, DQ? Hang on. I'm gonna remember it. I was thinking. Dang it! I was not. I was thinking Shane for something. Daryl, what's up, buddy? It's so hard for me to call you anything other than DQ now. I'm so used to it. Sounds like someone you used to know, Richard. You really. As well, I bet that cat not doing so good anymore. Dude, that cat was crazy. That was wild. That sucker took off flying, didn't he? And you could tell something ran him up that tree because he wasn't scared to be in the tree. He was scared, and we're talking about, if you haven't watched it, go watch Ground Pounder's video he just put out where he does a cat rescue. That cat was up in that tree, and he just didn't want to be on the ground. He was like he was terrified to go on the ground, and that kind of makes me feel like maybe something chased it up there, like a dog or something, or a coyote maybe. And it was so terrified it just stayed up there because it's like I don't want to be on the ground. The ground's where the danger's at. So when you guys came up to it, it ran it off and forced it to go. So because you could tell it got down pretty easy it seemed like, but hell of a jump. I wish I could jump like that. But yeah, I think it was really smart to. Was that the homeowner that you took up with you? That's a really smart idea. The cat will be more, receiving and like nice to the homeowner. So I think that was an awesome idea. I like that. And plus, you get to take him for a ride. That's cool. I hate topping, but sometimes the homeowner still wants it done, even after explaining the negatives involved. Yeah, and when okay, that's what when with this person, that's what happened. She said, "Okay, top it," because I don't want to lose the tree. And I said, "Well, I can make that tree shorter by at least 20 foot and it not really look much different. It's going to have two wounds. Well, I may have took one or two. There was one or two limbs that I feel like cracked, I think, and I ended up taking them off. But I think after I brought the height down, those two limbs weren't even there. So it had the two stems. It had two wounds, one, and then it has branches growing, and it's going to cover itself up really quick. Um, I told her I was like, I can. You will still have a beautiful tree that is full and fully branched out and nice, but it'll be 20, at least 20 foot shorter. And she's like, if you can do that, do it. So when I got done, she was like, I didn't know that could be done. Like I've never seen that really be done. That looks really good, and it's just really hard to explain to people. Really. Some customers are just stupid though. They want to look outside and see straight lines. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I get it. They've seen where someone topped a tree one time. They drove by one of them Bradfords, that I'm talking about, and it was bald at one day, and then it's a neighbor of theirs down the road, and they drove by that tree being bald, being bald, being bald, being bald to the point that they noticed it over and over and over, and then when they drove by the next year or the year after, it's a perfect cool ball. As they're driving by it from 100, let's say not 100 foot away, let's say 30 foot away. They're driving by and they look over and they say, "Wow, that's a beautiful little tree. Look how beautiful that little tree is." And they topped it. It was bald. So they're like, "That's how mine should be done." That's the problem. That's why mine is not perfect because it's not bald. It's just stupid. So if they would get out and go to that tree and walk under that canopy and look up in it, they would see tons of dead. But people don't do that. They're lazy. So I absolutely agree, Bitch Burner. You're 100% right. Yeah, Bones didn't like bucket chucks at all. That was crazy. It was funny though. I rescued a cat once and I used a recycling bin that Mark sent up to me. That's cool. The only times I've done cat rescues, as I get to the cat jumps out. So I've recorded them and I think I had one basically the same way. It took me like I don't know, maybe an hour to get set up and all the way to the cat. By the time I got to it, it just like crawled away and jumped off. And I was just doing it to be nice. I also rescued an enormous plane. Like I say, enormous plane, like remote control plane. It was a big ass like it was an old looking plane though, but it was got stuck up in a tree. And the guy asked me to take it down, and he's like, "If you can get me my tree or my plane back," he's like, it was so big, it was stuck in the very top of the tree, and I couldn't take it and go back down with it because the wingspan on it was so big, it wouldn't fit that back down through the tree. So what I actually had to do was set up a speed line and take the tail of my rope and tie it to it. And I hooked it onto a speed line and I had him go way out in the field. and I just let it out little by little, all the way down until it finally reached the ground because it was so big that there was no way for me to battle it down. It just there was no way it would fit. It was crazy. Cat went right in. That's awesome. I think he was looking for a new truck. That's the way it come off, didn't it, Dan? It really did. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand people. No, this is the thing. That's cute if that's what he was doing, but you got me twisted. You don't know me. Like, I'm gonna send shit bigger than I planned on doing over the top of your truck now, and you're just gonna make a better YouTube video for me. So thanks, asshole. That's basically the way I looked at it. Thank you for being a dick. I'll title this something about you being rude, and it'll get more views. So, it was YouTube gold. Let's just say that. Yeah, ground pounder. I've been there, done that. Before and after pictures, you can tell the people that you need to do that with a lot of times. I saved a cat message for 3 months. Oh, that's awesome. That's cool, Jeff. Oh, nothing. Nothing much, Gerald. We talked about the beginning of the video was I discussed the 4 types of speed lining, the differences between them, why you would use them. I'm sure I missed a lot of stuff, but I just kind of touched on the basics. I did some diagrams, so it's my elementary drawing with me rambling. So I don't know. You may get something of it. You may not. I don't. I may have just wasted everybody's time and showed you how bad I am at drawing. I don't know. Hopefully, I think it was probably something in it, but you know what, Jeff? It'd be nice. I would like to get old and just die of old age. That would be cool. I'm going with Yote or Fox. It was a barn cat. Right on. It was the owner. That's what I kind of picked up from what you were saying. Speedline the cat. I dig that. Hey, I'm I'm down. I'm down. I'll speedline a cat. I don't care. That is funny. Yeah, I dig it. I should draw a cat on a speed line for next time and show you. Hang on, I found out there was a 5th one. It's called um, Living Being Speed Line. That's not funny. No. I ruined Abe's joke. I should just left it alone. Proper crowd reduction. Even with hedges, people, they want me. Yeah, it's stupid. Some people are just ignorant. Sometimes you just gotta give them what they want. It's their tree. Give them what they want. You know, it is what it is. If they want a piece of crap sitting in their yard, my suggestion and recommendation on that is if you have enough work and money that you don't need it, no sense. Just walk away from them. If you need it, my suggestion is park your truck around the corner, flip your shirt inside out, and do it as fast as you can and get out of there. The cat came out quicker than a speed line. It did. 20. You ever want to see some butchered trees go near Cincinnati, Ohio? Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, dude. I'm telling you, around here, the farmers think the shorter you cut it, the better, you know, because they just don't want to deal with the trees anymore. But that's what they'll do a lot of times. How much take that down? And it was like, well, Tom should be a lot cheaper. But it's more cuts. It's almost more work a lot of times. And they, as you're doing it, they're like, I thought it'd be a little lower. I thought it'd be a little lower. Like right there, you know, where the pole goes up and then it does that thing where it goes out. And it's up right there. Oh my God. Yeah, whatever. That was a square straight, but yeah, I agree, Bridgeburn. There's plenty of jacked up trees here in PA too. Yeah, Jeff knows. Jeff knows. There's a few ladder jobs in. Yeah. Black released bobcats from foothold traps. That's awesome. I bet that's crazy. I watched some video where this guy befriended a wolf, like a timber wolf or something. That he was like a homesteader and he's living in Canada. And in the process of traveling and walking and like living off the land, he like stumbled across this enormous wolf who had got caught in a trap. And somehow he knew the guy who owned the land and the guy that was trapping, and the guy had died that week, like a few days before. So the guy was never going to come back out and check the traps, and the wolf was caught. So the guy tried to go over and like free it, and it tried to kill him. And he's like, "Whoa, I don't want to die. How about like I'll just chill for a little bit? He like chill for a day. The guy's still not the damn wolf won't let him get anywhere near it. Tries to kill him again, and he notices she has teats and that she is like full of milk. And he's like, "Whoa, you have puppies." So he's like, "What if I go get the puppies and bring them back to her because then I'll save the puppies' lives and maybe it'll like chill her out." So he's like, he's got too big of a heart. He started thinking about the puppies dying. So somehow this guy walks off into the woods and finds the den and gets the puppies to follow him. I don't know how, like, or maybe he put them in a bag and carried them back and took them to the mom and they breastfed and the guy camped out there and he would like wake up in the morning and the puppies would be jumping on him and licking him and stuff and he just camped there and eventually the wolf let him take her foot out of the trap somehow. It was crazy. And then like he came back like later and the wolf like he thought he was gonna get like mauled by these couple. This is probably made up, but then like that wolf, it ended up being the wolf that he had saved. It like had this weird limp where it didn't use one of its paws, but yeah, it was crazy. That kind of stuff's like I don't know. That kind of stuff's cool. I'm kind of a dog person anyway. Even though I say I want to beat my dog up all the time, he's awesome. I climbed an antenna tower once and disabled a wind turbine at dark for $100. Wow. Neighbors called, said it was howling too loud. Are you serious? People are so like then shut your damn windows. A pissed off 30-pound bobcat is a force to be reckoned with me. Oh, I bet, man. I bet. I'll speedline a cat before grabbing it and climbing down with it. Okay? I'm down, dude. I will. I guess it all depends on where you hook it up. Like, if you hooked it up on the neck, that's probably not too cool. Like, if you put it on the belly and just like let it go, that's kind of humane. It would hit the ground and keep running. That would be sick. Now I want to see somebody do it. We rigged the cat down from, but not speed line. Oh, dang it. Yeah, I know. I remember where you put it in the bag and then lowered it down. John, you're good. We just talked about different ways to speed line and stuff. So it's kind of more informative stuff at the beginning of the video. And it's just been us sitting around talking. Yeah, bridge burner, that's the worst. I tell people I don't do that. Like, I don't do you sit here while I'm in the tree and you tell me what to get. I don't do that. That's not the way things work. You tell me from down here, then you go in your home, and you don't have to stand. I don't care if you watch me the whole time, but you're going to watch me from outside the work area. And I would suggest maybe wearing some sunglasses, safety glasses, because there's going to be sawdust in the air. And I've had people like almost get offended, neighbors, because they wanted to sit outside and watch. and sawdust got in your eyes, put some damn glasses on. Like, ah, everything's everybody else's fault. I don't know if you guys realize this, but everything is everybody else's fault nowadays. Like, it's never the person's fault who did it. It's like White Fang. Yeah, Bridge Burner was. It was crazy because I watched it and then it ended up being a true story. And it was just recently. I think I seen it on YouTube. Dual Survival still comes on the Quest. Oh, sweet. I don't watch TV at all anymore. Legit, I am working on YouTube videos. I'm watching other people's YouTube videos. I do a little, like, I really don't even, like, I skate. I've skated one time in the past 3 months or something, but I don't do a lot of skating anymore. It's so cold, but, and then I try to get myself in a tree every once in a while or do something, but yeah, I just don't feel like I have a lot of time to catch up even on people's videos sometimes. It sucks. That was cool as heck. Where did that happen? It was Canada, is where they were at. So, serious question: can you ascend a tree with spikes with a foot ascender on a zigzag DRT, or would you need a hand ascender also? No, you can use a foot ascender, just a foot ascender. So if you're running DRT, you have the stationary end of the rope, which is usually in front of you, and it's anchored to the zigzag, and then you have the moving end, which goes through the zigzag. You would put your hands on the moving end, put the foot ascender on, and step, and just keep going. And you're rope walking. It's going to be a little harder because you have to move at 1 foot, and you're only getting movement on the 1 foot. Like if you added a knee ascender, all those techniques can be done with DRT that you do with SRT. You can do with DRT. So yeah, yeah, because there's only one end of the rope that's actually moving. So you just disregard the anchored end of the rope and treat it like it's SRT. Set the system up almost the exact same way as you would if it was an SRT system. So hopefully that but yeah, that's you definitely can. It's just gonna take a little while because when you're using DRT or a moving rope system, when I travel a foot up a rope when I'm SRT, I get to keep the whole foot. When you climb up a foot of rope with DRT, you only get a half a foot. You only get to keep half of that because you have to move twice as much rope. So there's the main advantage when it comes to SRT is not having to move as much rope to move yourself. So yeah, you don't. I don't think you need a hand ascender. A hand ascender would just give you something to get a good bite onto the actual rope and give you something to grip. That's maybe a little easier than the rope, but yeah, definitely not something you would have to have. But if you wanted to turn the zigzag into a 3-to-1, by putting a hand ascender up here, zigzag here, and then as the rope comes out, you run it back up to the hand ascender and put it in a pulley. Then you could hip thrust your way up by doing that, and you get a 3-to-1. So that could also work too, but you would need a hand ascender on that. But how's your foot doing? Yeah, how is it, John? I'm gonna try my hand ascender set up on my spikes next spike climb. Cool. If it don't work. It'll work. I'm sure you're definitely smart enough. I would just, as long as when you connect it, it's not all floppy and loose and stuff. You're good, dude. You're a smart enough guy. We've established this already. You got her done. Yes, my foot is doing fine. I have a green light now to start trying to find. Oh, dude, that's so awesome. The one has a video where he made a homemade ascender fit on his spikes and yeah, yeah. I'll give you a hand with anything you need, buddy. You've given me enough support. I'm here. Definitely an open ear if you need one. That's what I tell them too. It's not safe. Stay back. Alright. Yeah, I mean, there's certain people where you just don't click with them, and you just realize you kind of don't like them. Like I had some like asshole renters that were in a house, and the guy who owned the house had me there doing tree work, but the like drunk people that lived there were ignorant. So I told him, I was like, hey, you guys either need to leave your house now or don't come out the doors. Lock the doors. Like you have two options. I'm gonna be working over your house for a little while. You can leave now, but you cannot come out any of these doors. And they're like, well, you're gonna give us some time for it. I said, take your time. So we just stopped and just waited. We leave. So I don't know. I knew it wasn't their house, and I knew, the guy who owns this told me we're playing by my rules, so we're gonna play by my rules. I have a one wheel. I love it, but you gotta wear pads. Yeah, I know, but man, it definitely hurts way more than it used to. One wheels are cool though. I only go up like 3 inches at a time. So yeah, it's tough, man. It really is. So that's the thing where a knee ascender attached would give you something where you can step twice, like boom, 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 boom. So you would get movement on this foot, and then movement on this foot, then movement on this foot, then movement on this foot. So, and that you can make one out of a hand ascender. You put a hand ascender on there, and then a bungee, and then a foot loop to go down to your foot. Or you can use a foot ascender to make one. You could use an actual knee ascender. Just get creative and add things to it. But slow and steady, Abe, that wins the race, man. So being fast and moving is super quick isn't always the best. It's crazy how much pressure is on your tie-in point when you're using a base anchor versus a canopy anchor. It's crazy how much pressure is on your tie-in point when you're like the high point, because I don't agree with that, DQ. I disagree with what I hear people say, that it's more stressful on the tree. I don't think that's true. There's compression being caused where you get the bend of that entire section on the back side, and there has to be some displacement in that compression that's happening. So like I've heard that before too, but I don't hear that much anymore because I feel like other people were starting to say, well, no, BS. Like I promise you, I've put ropes up in trees, clipped them to the top, and broke the top out trying to pull them over. Now I would take that same tree and I've ran a rope up and then down the back side of it and base anchored it, and I can pull them trees over. So when I get in a situation where I'm worried that the tension I'm going to put on the top is going to break the top out, I'll base anchor. And that's because I've noticed how it doesn't just blow the top out. It creates a back pull on the whole setup and causes a gradual bend as opposed to pressure on one spot like a canopy anchor would and bow. So I personally, I've seen where people say that. I've seen very, very, very intelligent people that I think, like I've learned a lot from, say that kind of stuff, but they've never been able to prove it in a way that made any sense to me. So I personally just I don't buy into that. But hey, don't like say that. Yeah, I'm not saying that it's not because I don't want any guy to get hurt, but I personally just don't. Yeah, I like the canopy anchor for that reason, but the tree can take it. I'll use a base. Base anchor is twice the pressure. I just don't agree. Anyone else have a asshole fee? Yes, 100%. You'll give that's normal. DRT is slow. So, alright, yeah, no. Feel about people try to flex on me sometimes. That's wait till they hear how much. Yeah, I know. Necessary, but every person that treats me crap ends up. Yeah, yeah. I have certain ones that screwed me on like $25, like stupid shit. And like I don't think they realize that $25 you got me on last time is going to cost you 125 the next time. But it's on them, whatever. Getting even. That's not doing anything bad. That's just making things right again. I will SRT up a base anchor and then canopy tie. I'll make sure never to disrespect you. Yeah, I know. Me too. Try to treat everyone with respect and kindness. That's the way to go through life and live life, brother. I really, really, really respect and dig it when I run into people like that because they're few and far between nowadays. I broke on the top also as I climbed up it. Had to go up and get it after. Dang. I've like I don't know. Like I've bounce tested some canopy anchors and broke the limb out. I just feel much safer with a bounce anchor. That's just me. I can't give you the full breakdown and science of it and why it works and why I feel like I bet I could if I spent the time and maybe I will. But yeah, that's just me though, man. A little giant light hat. Record pull me up. Whatever gets the job done, Abe. I absolutely do as well. Maybe. Just subscribe, Jeffrey, so I don't get hurt. Nice beard, mine out. Right about the bend pressure, but I can prove my point. Coming soon. How do you feel about pull behind lifts? I just bought a 55 footer. Oh, that is really cool, man. They're really good. They're a great piece of equipment in my opinion. So, I mean, a great investment. I think that's where it's at. You don't have to carry the commercial insurance and all kinds of stuff like you would with a bucket truck. It is a simple tow behind. You can get it licensed with a permanent plate, and it'll get in places that a pull behind or that an actual lift could never go. What I would suggest, if you have a pull behind, get a wheel on the front for the jack that is a doubled wheel so that you can what I used to do, I had a wheel on the jack on the front of the trailer. So what I would do is I would winch the lift into backyards using trees and pulleys and pull the lift by itself with my truck around the house. Like I'd have like say I would be like pulling the lift in over on this side, but I would run like pulleys to the backyard over to here, then over to here, then over to here, and then my truck would be like over here, and I'd be pulling the lift into the backyard using ropes, and then I could get it back out because they're like the actual lift was skinnier than my truck, so I could squeeze it into spots that I couldn't, and but yeah, I think it's a great piece of equipment, buddy. I think it's you'll be stoked long term as long as it's not something that you have to work on all the time. How about carabiner versus quickie? Um, I don't know. I just have certain things that quickies are where it's at. It's what I like to use. Other things where you know, carabiner, I would rather use. So, and when you talk carabiners, there's just too wide of a range there. You have, single flip carabiners like you have, you know, single locking, double locking, triple locking, screw shut. Um, so it just depends. It really depends. There's certain things that I love to use a carabiner. The quickie, like when I go to connect to my zigzag, I love using a quickie link because then you have, and Greg Brown's the one that told me this, you now have a spot to connect a slack tender, which you don't have on a zigzag when you use a quickie link to attach it. Now you have that quickie link that you can clip a carabiner into, or it's big enough that you can throw your lanyard over your shoulder and clip your lanyard into it. So I was going to start off with base anchor simply for the rescue aspect of it. Yep, to be able to be lowered. That was my thought. Good idea, man. Fees associated or stupid on my bucket. Yeah, I can imagine, man. Try DRT first, sub DQ. I like my quickie, but I love the million screw link. I don't even remember what mine's like a fusion or something like that. I have one that's from like a fusion, and then another one that's DM, and it's steel beater. But I've never used a quickie link for rigging. Like I was just talking climbing wise. I have a Vermeer, and for like base anchoring, a quickie link is really nice because you don't have to worry about their getting into an orientation, so it's side loading the beaner gate or anything because it doesn't have one. Plus, it has multiple release points. It's double locking, so you have to do both of those, which is very unlikely that it would happen. I like that idea also. Whatever works. Yeah, I was thinking about trying double rope technique first because of being easier. Yeah, yeah. All of that will translate over into SRT. Just fiddle with SRT, but use DRT to just do your thing now and enjoy the climbing aspect. Just if you end up getting to where like having to move that much rope is just too hard on you, then maybe look into SRT. But you're just looking to get comfortable again, John, and enjoy what you're doing, man. That's what I would do. I mean, what you on the West calling me for, dude? You're preaching to the choir, brother. I've been dead for I don't know how long. I don't know how. This is gonna be the worst Christmas, but it is what it is. I'll figure it out. I don't mind the quickie in theory, but I feel like people are also just jumping on the bandwagon. Mm, it depends. Like I said, it it's a total different like it just works so perfect for certain things, man. It really does. But yeah, Greg talked me into it, and when it comes to being able to run SRT and or DRT with the zigzag, there is no other way to have a connection point that gives you an attachment point for slack tending unless you use the quickie link. And so like the switching a carabiner for a quickie link also took the connection point and dropped it much further down and gave me a better like connection point there. So like the sewn eye wasn't right there on like the links of the zigzag. With a carabiner, it was like it set the sewn eye right where the links are at and kind of makes it to where you kind of got to fight your hand in there. But yeah, it's more tedious, but this is the way all of my metals make learning SRT easier after 100%. Bridge Burner's right. All those basics and things that you do with DRT will translate over to SRT, so it's important to know it. Got one on my zigzag. Right on. I've never SRT'd. I've heard once you go single, you never go back. Is it true? No. No, I'll, I just randomly want to climb DRT sometimes. And so I do. I mean, it's, I enjoy using all of them. It's a new tool to have in your pocket because there's certain situations where it's very useful to be able to run multiple redirects all over a tree so you can stay very secure where you're cutting. You can put a redirect every time you need to make a cut. So and being able to keep every bit of advancement that you make on a rope, you get to keep with SRT. That's a big deal too. So okay, sweet. Yeah, definitely. I need to learn it slow. So, yeah, take your time, John. There's a lot to learn, and just learn your basics. And with good basics, you can do any of the SRT techniques. You can learn them and understand them with good basics. So, now I'm lucky. I can thank my dad. He definitely gave me all the basics and made sure I had a good foundation to kind of grow off of. So, just try to isolate the rope. He had to take my dad called me today. He thought he was having a heart attack. I had to run to his house real quick and take him to the hospital. But he was good. I think he just maybe had a panic attack or something. I climbed ground pounder. I climbed up the side of a lookout tower one time when I was drunk like a stupid ass, and it was raining. And I don't know how tall that thing is. It's probably a couple hundred. It's really, really stupid tall. It was metal. And I climbed up the side of it just to be dumb. I don't know why I did that. I've been in a couple. I did a tulip poplar one time. It was probably 120. It could have been a little more. It was honestly by far the biggest tallest tree I've ever been in my life. I had to connect ropes together, even SRT with a canopy anchor. I had to connect ropes, so it was silly. 200-foot fir in Southern Oregon. Oh, that's awesome, Jeff. 110, yeah, man. DRT also. 110 contract poplar job, but because that's a 110-foot tree, and it's crazy. And sometimes guys just look at certain trees, they're like, I can't do that. So it was 100% maybe one day. I used DRT and climb on Blake's head for 16 years. Don't ask why. I carry a zigzag. I want to get more down. Well, use the akimbo, Abe. When you're up in a tree and you're tied in and you're getting over to a section, you're about to work it up. You got your DRT over here. Take your akimbo and anchor when you're far away from your tie-in. Tie in with the akimbo, and it gives you perfect work positioning at that spot. Then take it off. Use it like a single line lanyard. So you have a single line right there. So that'll give you some practice on running at DR or SRT and like how it works and the movements and stuff like that. Yeah, I used the taut line hitch for 15 years or more. Last year when I climbed over 300 foot to get to the top of the jag line. Oh, that's cool. Well, guys, hey, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you guys being so loyal always, and let me steal a little bit of your time, especially around the holiday season like this. I think we have another live feed, at least one more before Christmas. So have a happy holiday season. But I'm gonna see you before Christmas, and I'll wish you happy Christmas, Merry Christmas then. But thanks for hanging out. Dang, we gotta find some more stuff to like use as a sword on. There's gotta be something we can do. A tree I could trim or something. We'll see. Maybe some ice. Maybe we get some snow. I'll just start chopping ice. All right. Well, I'm gonna go cut something with something, and I'm gonna get out of here. Stay safe. Thanks for hanging out.